think we're good. Let me just make sure it's showing up. There we go. Finish what's in my mouth and I'll continue.
Moses.
How about instead of charging me $14.99 a month, you just give me a one lump sum payment?
No.
Cover me for the year? No? Okay. Amazon Prime finally emailed us. More on that later. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the ITP Paladin, coming at you with a quick follow-up stream to the... I'm not going to say this is the first Seder. It was not our first where I had to take charge, but it was the first that I took serious concerning the fact that I have not actually led a Seder without some form of individual to give me direction, someone that I could look to. That is the Christian equivalent of, I need an adult. Oh, wait, I am the adult? I need an adultier adult. I wish that was a joke. But no, I really... I'm familiar with my wife. We only really did the Seder with her family, actually, in concern to growing up in my personal life. My family is not Jewish by nationality or by genealogy or anything of that sort. So we didn't partake in Seders other than being invited by my wife's family, respectively, and a couple of other families from time to time. Not so much the others, but mainly my wife's family. We were very close. So that is how I'm familiar with Seders. I was going to say Sadie again. I love it.
Seder.
I love it. My daughter's name matches the same thing of the event I'm doing. Woo, excuse me.
The Sadie Seder.
The Sadie Seder, exactly. So, actually, no, this would be it's her second Seder, but it is the...
First one she was kind of able to participate in.
Yeah, this is the first one she was, for lack of better terminology, be able to participate in. Obviously, she couldn't participate on everything, but yeah, she wasn't restricted to mommy. She didn't just cry because she was hungry or tired or anything. We occupied her, so that was good. That was good behavior.
And she interjected her opinion.
She interjected very often. Very often. She needed to share her opinion. Her opinion needed to be heard, and she needed to have her voice just as loud as our voice. The Seder should be posting itself at 9:30. Just trying to see if I could find my stream real quick. It's not gonna... Yeah, it's not showing it. Just give me one more
I
second.
don't know if it's going to show up because it's unlisted.
I switched it back. Here we go. This is the follow-up. I just want to make sure my video is going good. Right, so enough seeing the top of my head. Let's talk about the Seder. So, again, I'm only familiar with my wife's side of the family. It was always my father-in-law. Very, very well-composed Seders whenever he's in charge. He always managed to make it fun without losing his place, and he was totally great at it. And I kind of miss doing it as the family because it was always a good time. Not too much fun, but fun enough where you remember it. And that's kind of the good thing. So having a Seder this time and being in charge of it, being able to run it, that's totally different and new.
I think we had fun.
I had a lot of fun, I know, and the wife was saying she had fun, so I guess that makes it for all of us. And Sadie obviously didn't enjoy it as much as she could have, but it says I have 20 subscribers. I went from... I went from 15 to 20 subscribers, and yet it only told me about my uncle. I just did the math right now. I remembered. I'll have a look at that. I'm going to take a look at my demographics later. Anyway, so let's quickly fill this out. So we're basically told after this one to kind of go over the meaning of the Passover Seder. I think just to make a very short video and to at least have content out there. What was that?
Reflect on it.
Yeah, just kind of reflect on it for the most part. So, I guess that the best reflection of an opinion that I could give that'd be worth your while, what does it mean to me personally, and how should Christians be viewing it? Well, I've been reading the Bible in chronological order this entire time, trying to understand everything in the order, supposedly, that things had kind of transpired throughout the history that the Bible depicts from the beginning of Genesis all the way to our current day. To be quite honest, it is quite the journey. Do I have the page that I could show? Is it at the top here? I didn't keep it separate this time around, right? I always manage to forget to put it back in my Bible. Over the course of this week, actually, this is hilarious. Over the course of this week, I managed to get half of a row down on the middle row, and the last time I made a video, I was only at the bottom, and that took me a while right here. So, let's go back. Let's go back to Exodus. Understanding God's law, God's immutable law. Oh, I gotta stop watching The Chosen so much. But, where to begin? So, understanding what it means to understand the entirety of the establishment of the Israelite nation, to understand God's chosen people, why the laws were necessary, why we were supposed to remember everything, the prophecies that led to Jesus, how that interlines with the Christian belief from the belief of Judaism, which was the Old Covenant. And suffice to say, it is very unique. It's very mind-boggling. In fact, the entire reading that I'm doing in this instance, I just actually finished Song of Solomon, and I'm beginning on Proverbs. Wow, that guy.
He's still reeling.
He's a character. I'm still reeling from that. That guy is quite... Like, I thought that just David and Job were characters. No, this guy's a character in and of himself. Way more, yeah. They're not for YouTube. No. But the point stands. What does Passover mean to me? Well, first off, a greater understanding of the Savior, the understanding of the sacrifice, the prophecies that were fulfilled, the understanding of Jesus' position as the sacrifice lamb, as seen by the first intro song, which I would have gladly played along with the intro songs, but I thought it best to actually just have the song play in and of itself. It's a really good song. I suggest you guys look it up if you take a look back. It's just called Sacrifice Lamb. Understanding Passover, understanding the Israelite nation's predicament as far as being slaves to the Egyptians, understanding God freeing them from the bondage of Egypt, and how that translates to Jesus freeing us from the bonds of sin.
In prophecy, Egypt came to mean sin.
Yeah, Egypt in the what was that? In prophecy, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, in prophecy, Egypt came to mean, not equal, excuse me, came to mean sin. And I did see that from time to time that they always mention it. I think it's going to start mentioning more once we hit... I forgot the name of the book off the top of my head. I think we'll see more of it when I hit Proverbs. Maybe not, maybe so. I don't know. But the point is... Oh! I just had a revelation. Song of Solomon. Who is his beloved? Who's his beloved?
Egyptian. Shulamite.
Think about that one. If Solomon represents the bridegroom and Jesus, the Shulamite was supposed to be... It's funny how we just caught this on camera, too.
If we want to talk about how Christ is in Song of Solomon, let's get into it.
Yeah, Song of Solomon, we're not talking about that on stream. The guy... I have so much to say that I actually don't want to get banned on YouTube for. It's just... It's a giant... Can I use the word euphemism?
Yeah.
It's just a euphemism. The entire thing is almost a euphemism.
It's about a physical... It's about a... Yes.
Yeah,
relationship, but
yeah.
It's talking about...
It's a metaphor for Christ's love for his church, as well as the pureness of relationship between a husband and wife.
Yeah.
And it's not adulterated in a negative way. It's pure and straightforward kind of professing love to each other and keeping things interesting in the relationship, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, ironically enough. And I saw the hints of all three. How a wife and husband should be treating each other, how a husband should be clinging to his wife and should always try and bring his love forward. So, mingling back that into the Passover, how God's love for his people, how he set the law, how he set the way straight to lead to Jesus, the bridegroom to the people of Israel and the nation thereof, and understanding again how this all plays into the idea of salvation that is presented in the Christian belief. I've been going through a lot of growth myself, trying to determine, where my beliefs primarily lie, where I am on certain issues, how I should be as a Christian, and not even talking about all those other things like religious beliefs, specific doctrines, and denominations. I don't want to identify with those. I want to identify with my Savior. I want to identify with my bridegroom. So let's keep it at that. But what the Passover now means to me, and understanding the old law better, understanding the old nation, understanding the old ways, the old covenant, I don't know how best to explain it other than it's so awe-inspiring to the point where I can't even begin to give a word or description, or even if I was given probably a good day or two to explain it, I probably still wouldn't be able to. But understanding how things each play into each other, seeing the symbolism underneath the surface level of scripture reading, and seeing how that played, especially in the first 5 books, seeing everything from Genesis all the way to Deuteronomy. And lo and behold, wow. let me just summarize it in this kind of way. When you understand the law, you have a greater appreciation for its fulfillment. You understand the reason, especially if you're familiar with Jesus but not so much the law, that once you start understanding the law and what he was fulfilling, it starts to become clearer and more meaningful and more impactful in your personal life. And I could say that it's helped me grow in numerous ways in my spiritual confidence. And quite frankly, I want to be able to do more videos like this, but I feel like I haven't done as much as I could cover. I honestly feel like I haven't covered as much as I could cover for this video. But I want to say that this was a fun experience. Passover is definitely something. And in fact, you know what? I will actually add a quick discussionary point. In fact, give me 2... I'm going to have this above me for a second, because this is all strictly discussionary purposes. This is not me laying wisdom on anybody that I don't possess. I will not do that. I'll catch myself ahead whenever possible. I'm still capable of making mistakes, but this one I'm pretty sure I got the head on. Discussionary point, I recently saw a video where this, I guess he was a pastor of his church, I'm not 100% sure. He was giving a message of, should Christians really celebrate Passover? It was something that bothered me because he did give a good explanation as to why Christians don't have to. The key words are, you don't have to. And I think there came a point where he said, you shouldn't? I don't know how he led to that one, but his explanation is that the Passover was to represent an old covenant that both Jew and Gentile are no longer in part of. So you're not required as a Christian to do that. You're not required to celebrate Passover because the Passover was fulfilled by Jesus, and you should just be doing it through communion, which is basically Passover whenever you remember him. And that was more or less his explanation, and I'm actually inclined to disagree with one point. And it's more along the lines of just debating the counterpoint of, should a Christian celebrate Passover? And I think that the answer to that question is yes. And the reason why it's a yes is not because you need to follow the old covenant, but rather that you need to remember the old covenant. Because you have to remember, do this as oft as you remember is the charge that Jesus gave to his disciples. It was for him. He was the fulfillment, and it did mean him. But think about this. Why else was the Passover also remembered? Do this in remembrance of your freedom from bondage in Egypt. And I read the Old Testament scriptures talking about that particular time, like, you were all in Egypt. Like, you need to understand. Like, remember that I freed you from there. There was even laws pertaining to slavery that even God himself was saying, you will not follow the same direction as the world where you will have your own slaves. Remember that you were strangers in a foreign land. There's always that word remember. This Passover is done in remembrance of what once was the norm for the nation, bringing into where we are today. What led to today? What led to Jesus? The Passover. Israel would never have been the nation it was if they were never freed from the tribulation and yoke of bondage under Egypt. And the nations of Israel, once called Jacob, couldn't formulate their own thing, and God could not give them the promised land, and Jerusalem would have never come to be. The prophecies never would have come to be if they still remain in Egypt. So everything bundling together, a Christian should definitely, it's not that you have to. You're not forced to. If you miss it, you're not under any trouble. Obviously, an old covenant is an old covenant. Again, the requirements are not there. But should you, as a Christian, celebrate Passover? Absolutely, if you can. Absolutely. There is no argument here. Doesn't matter if you're Jew or Gentile, you're remembering a time for God's chosen people to be brought out of slavery and out of bondage and to become a free nation that they are today.
And it in turn set a chain of events which led to Christ.
In turn,
it is our heritage, whether you're Jew or Gentile. And even if you're Gentile, you are grafted into the vine if you are in Christ. So we're all part of the same family. So this is basically learning our family history.
pretty much. Fun stuff. I don't know. I really hope that the wife could be heard from that distance. But the point stands. That is, I guess that was just a quick discussion point that we should just put out there. So, all in all, it was an enjoyable experience. I'm glad I was able to lead it. I feel honored to be able to do that for my family, and my wife is giving me the biggest grin on her face right now. It's so funny. We need to do a podcast. Anyway.
Yes. Keep saying that.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that more later. ITP Christianity. Okay, jokes aside, I'm going to let everybody go about their evening. There's probably people that are still doing their own Seder, so you go do your own thing. Otherwise, just watch our Seder when it comes out in the next 15 minutes. I hopefully did everything. Oh, okay, hold on a minute. I do need to cover this one last point, and I'm glad I remembered this. So I posted a video on both my gaming channel and my Christianity channel, specifically covering a particular point about me failing. And that was actually the title of it, I Failed. The purpose of the video was to explain why I was no longer streaming, why I was no longer creating content, where I am in my personal life and my personal walk, and so on and so forth. So the purpose again of the video title was to basically relay I had a plan, I was going to go forward with a plan, and then I fell short of that initial plan and something changed. Now I want to clarify, it's not that I believe that, because I got about 2 comments actually with people supporting me saying, no, don't worry, you didn't fail anything, you just didn't, don't let that bring you down. I don't hold that to my heart, thankfully. I don't believe that I failed in that regard. The failure was that I had an initial plan in my head and in my heart that I was pursuing with the fullness that I could give it. And because it didn't go anywhere, it is a failure. Is it holding me down? Am I weighed down by the failure? Absolutely not, and I thought that that'd be a good thing to relay real quick. I don't believe that I failed in my content creation, just that I failed at the regard of the level I was trying to achieve. There is still something there. There's still stuff I'm going to do. There's still stuff I'm going to teach. There's still stuff I'm going to create. I'm not done. And nor do I hold the weight of that failure upon my shoulder. I got it. I failed it. I'm still moving forward. I'm not staying down. So don't worry about that. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not done. I know that I failed my previous plan, but regardless of what I plan, there is a plan that cannot fail for me where I am called. So I'm just going day by day on that one. All right, I'm about to lose my voice because of the Seder, so I'm going to call it right here. Thank you guys for tuning in and for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the Seder video when it pops up in the next 15 minutes. So have a good night. Thank you again for tuning. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good night.